So hey, what do you say we take our next Cantonian tour stop to another epic city? I made a video on the bustling metropolis of Saffron City, and that video ended up being the only tour video so far to last over an hour. But if we're talking cities with a large number of buildings, Saffron City is small potatoes compared to what we have in store today, as you can see by the length of this video. And if you're new here, welcome! This is actually episode 14 of this series I started called the Tour of Kanto, where I pick a place of interest from the original Pokemon Red and Blue versions and look at everything I can think of that pertains to this place, while having the mindset that it's your first time playing through it. Things like the Pokemon you can find there, what the folks say, items you can find, what the game is like leading up to that point, how it's portrayed in later games, side games, the anime, the TCG, the manga, the whole shebang. It's a good time, and do not fret, as these videos are not in any sort of specific order. I choose places based on what sounds fun at the time. Last time I chose to examine the SS Anne, the ship that is temporarily moored in the Vermilion Harbor, where the most off-the-chain parties happen. So I say we see what's going on in the actual big city. As you can see, we have a lot to get through. Fairly early on in the game, you reach Cerulean City from the west, where the water type reigns supreme. Beyond that though, if you try to go south, you get stopped by a guard who tells you that the road is closed and that he is thirsty as heck. Not really sure what that has to do with a road being closed, but alright. So you continue on, eventually taking some underground tunnel to another route near Vermilion City. If you try to go north, you'll get the same strange response from a completely different guard. He's also thirsty and says the road is closed. Why do they keep bringing up that they're thirsty? I don't know what to tell you, my guy. Bring a lunch next time? However, if you speak to a townsperson in Vermilion City, he tells you that he's using his Pidgey as a carrier pigeon, nice touch there, to fly a letter to someone in Saffron City to the north. Ah, so that's what the name of the place is beyond the closed road. And you actually get to read this lad's letter, too. Dear Pippi, I hope to see you soon. I heard Saffron has problems with Team Rocket. Vermilion appears to be safe. Well, that's ominous. The road is closed, so he's using his Pidgey to fly a letter, but the fact that he's going so far out of his way to contact someone named Pippi makes this seem pretty serious. Is Team Rocket holding an entire city hostage or something? What does he mean by problems? So you continue on with the whole SS Anne chapter, gank a couple more gym badges, fight through the dark rock tunnel, and arrive at Lavender Town. The super scary ghosts in Pokemon Tower are not visible to the naked eye, so best to continue to the west, where there are a bunch of trainers hanging around. After defeating one child and forcing his lunch money right out of his hands, he tells us that they are stuck there because of the gates at Saffron. Someone else says that Saffron's gatekeeper won't let them through and that he's so mean. I mean, if the road is closed, there's not much he can do about it, you know? There must be some serious construction going on, or a bridge down or something. The guard is probably just being firm, not mean. It's about the safety of others. Best to go speak to him yourself. I am on guard duty. Gee, I'm thirsty though. Oh wait, there the road's closed. Oh, come on! What, is it the exact same guard at each stop? Or are they all some sort of thirsty hive mind? So you can yet again take another underground path to travel under this Saffron City and arrive at the fabulous Celadon City, where you discover that Team Rocket has a big poaching and gambling operation going on at the local casino. Nice! After taking down their big boss, you get something called a Silph Scope that allows you to be able to see ghosts. So you wander around, eventually making your way to the giant department store, and at the very top, you'll find the only vending machines in the entire region. Right here on this very specific roof in one city. You can buy 3 different types of beverages, and hey, what if you actually decide to go help those super thirsty guards that all say the same thing? Maybe that'll shut them up and they can tell you exactly why the road is closed. Or, you know, any information at all as to why groups of children are stranded outside and why someone needs to resort to using a carrier Pidgey to deliver a letter like it's 1865. So if you make your short trip to the east, you can hand over that vending machine drink. Whoa boy, I'm parched. Huh? I can have this drink? Gee, thanks. If you want to go to Saffron City, you can go through. I'll share this with the other guards. Okay, whoa, wait a minute, what? What absolute nonsense is this? All 4 guards at the ends of the city say the exact same thing, that they are thirsty and the road is closed. And all it takes to have the road not be closed is to hand one of them a single beverage, and the road is magically open again? It's not closed for construction or repairs or anything at all. These 4 guards are all making up the same lie and are willing to take the weakest bribe possible. Also, just how much water is that 4th guard going to get anyway? You probably gave them, what, a 12-ounce bottle, so they're each getting 3 ounces of water? This is all just so weird. Why are they closing the roads anyway? Well, whatever is going on here, you have finally made your way to this very mysterious Saffron City, the shining golden land of commerce. Firstly, the name Saffron City. Saffron is a shade of yellow or orange, the color of the tip of the saffron crocus thread from which the spice saffron is derived. If you're playing on a Game Boy Color or a Super Game Boy or whatever, this place just exudes this saffron color. I typically record footage with the red version filter, so just trust me on that. Or there's always, this. I know it's just a simple hue to help differentiate this city from all of the other cities named after colors, but I still like to imagine that every building here has the same yellow-orange paint on it. This is Saffron City, and the HOA decrees that yellow-orange is the only color you're ever going to see here. Also, Saffron City is based on Tokyo itself, so that's pretty cool. But as far as the city layout goes, Saffron City has a grand total of 34 buildings, which is 11 more than the rather large Celadon City has even. But of course, most of this is for show, as 26 of them are buildings you can't even enter. There are more unenterable buildings here than the combined total in all of Celadon City. But it seems like the idea here is that it's not that these buildings are literally door or entrance-less, but perhaps it's symbolic that they're not even worth thinking about from this 11-year-old's perspective. This is probably somebody's actual house, but to you, it's just a building that you have no reason going into, so you don't even notice if there's a door there or not. It's either that, or the Game Boy's limitations and there wasn't enough space to program more enterable buildings. So of the 8 buildings that you can actually enter, 4 of them are labeled with the familiar Pokemon Center, Pokemon, and Gym that you've been seeing in each other town or city. Nothing new there. But what is new is that there are 2 gyms here right next to each other. And the other 4 buildings aren't labeled, but 2 of them have signs outside, and one of them is absolutely enormous. It's what looks like a 10-story building just slapped right in the center of the city. A bit of an eyesore, really. But also, wait a minute, where are all the citizens? All you see are 8 different Team Rocket grunts wandering around, 4 of them blocking the doorways of buildings. One of them is in front of the gym on the right, 2 in front of unmarked houses, and the other blocks that skyscraper in the center. What is even going on here? By talking to a few of them, you get the usual Team Rocket charm. What do you want? Get lost. Get out of my way. Being evil makes me feel so alive. Okay, that one's kind of funny. But a couple give you at least a little insight as to what is happening here. Boss said he'll take this town. With Silph under control, we can exploit Pokemon around the world. Okay, so this city really is being held hostage, and it all has to do with something called Silph, which is the name of the scope you may or may not have found yet. It's not clear as to what they mean by exploiting Pokemon around the world, but it appears that all will be answered inside that giant building in the center. However, this Silph Company office building is one being blocked by a rocket who claims to be a security guard not letting suspicious kids inside. So let's run this down. In the surrounding cities, Team Rocket has tried to take over Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town, in which they killed the mother of a Cubone. They run an illegal gambling ring in Celadon City where they give away poached Pokemon as prizes, some of which came from Mount Moon, and a couple of them are breaking in and destroying houses in Cerulean City and trying to recruit members on Nugget Bridge. And they are apparently in control of all of the guards that are blocking the entrances to Saffron City, the heart of their operation. They must be threatening or blackmailing these guards because the reason they give for not letting people through being that they are thirsty is just really stupid. Unless these guards are also part of Team Rocket. Either way, all it takes is one single beverage to change their minds, so if they are part of Team Rocket, they are awful at their job. Conspiracies are running rampant in this region. But of the buildings you can enter, the folks in the mart just give you generic info on items. But in the Pokemon Center, one kid says it would be great if the Elite Four came and stomped Team Rocket. A man there says that Silph Co is very famous and that this is why it attracted Team Rocket. Is this gonna turn into some Nakatomi Plaza type scenario?
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
Another house that's not being blocked, but honestly probably should be, is the home of someone named Mr. Psychic. Who is Mr. Psychic? He's just some dude who gives you the TM for Psychic, and that's all we know about him. But Team Rocket dropped the ball there because Psychic is quite possibly the single strongest move in the game. It's not the strongest by power compared to moves like Blizzard or Fire Blast or any of those, but this is a 90 power move with 100% accuracy that has a 33% chance at also lowering their special, basically making it even stronger. And if you're taking advantage of Stab by teaching it to a Psychic type, that's really all you'll likely need. The Psychic type is a bit overpowered in Gen 1, and the move Psychic is a major reason why. But one cool thing is that Mr. Psychic being here and giving you the TM for Psychic is consistent in every future version of Saffron City. And the last building you can enter at the moment is the gym on the left, which says is the Fighting Dojo. The actual gym on the right is blocked, but the sign does inform you that the gym leader is named Sabrina, and it's the Psychic Gym, so you can at least have that knowledge. But the Fighting Dojo is pretty much exactly what you'd expect, although it's not a gym in the sense where you'll get a badge at the end. This is a completely optional area where you can fight 5 different black belt trainers who very obviously use only fighting type Pokemon. There are 9 total black belts in the game, with the other 4 being in the Viridian Gym and Victory Road. The first 4 black belts here use combinations of Machop, Machoke, Mankey, and Primeape, but the last one is the self-proclaimed Karate Master. He uses 2 fighting types you haven't seen in the game thus far, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. And upon defeating him, he gifts you one of those Pokemon in the 3rd Pokemon decision of the game, a la your starting Pokemon or the fossils in Mount Moon. And I always thought he gave you one of his that you just fought, but no, that's not the case at all. They were both level 37 with established moves, and the gift ones are only level 30 with plenty of room to grow. Hitmonlee is the pure fighting type kicking Pokemon. When in a hurry, its legs lengthen progressively. It runs smoothly with extra long loping strides. Hitmonlee is of course named after martial artist Bruce Lee, but what some may not know is that its Japanese name being Sawamular is named after the Japanese kickboxer Tadashi Sawamura. So that's kinda cool. People in North America are likely way more familiar with Bruce Lee, so I can see the change in the English version. Although it originally being named after an actual kickboxer makes perfect sense. But Bruce Lee also works. And what's also pretty awesome about Hitmonlee is that it has the unique ability of learning 3 different signature moves, at least at the time. Rolling Kick, Jump Kick, and High Jump Kick. Hitmonlee has pretty high attack and speed, so adding one to the team can certainly be worthwhile. On the flip side, Hitmonchan is the pure fighting type punching Pokemon. While apparently doing nothing, it fires punches in lightning fast volleys that are impossible to see. And the Chan in Hitmonchan is in reference to Jackie Chan, but its Japanese name being Ebiwaller is in reference to Japanese boxer Hiroyuki Ebihara. And well, Jackie Chan is not a boxer, so this one doesn't quite work as well. But I guess naming it something like Hitmon Ali is a little too close to Hitmonlee. Hitmon Balboa, now there we go. And while Hitmonchan seems like a much more versatile and fun choice on paper, with it being able to learn punches of different types like Comet Punch, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, and Mega Punch, Hitmonchan's special is really pretty atrocious. Like with Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan's best stat is attack, so that really makes Fire, Ice, and Thunder Punch really not great at all. Each of them do have a 10% chance at causing a related status condition, so there is that possibility if anything. I mean, getting a freeze from Ice Punch is pretty much an auto win because of how awful being frozen is in Gen 1. But otherwise, I mean, Hitmonlee is the better choice in almost every way. Hitmonchan does have a higher defense though, but yeah, Hitmonlee all the way in my opinion. And this is the only place in the entire game to get them, so you gotta make your choice between the two right here. And that is all you can do in Saffron City for the moment. So now what? Well, you take care of all the Team Rocket shenanigans in the Celadon Game Corner and the Pokemon Tower, and only then will Saffron open up. Kinda. Heading back to Saffron City, the security guard in front of Silph Co will be taking a snooze, allowing you to enter this absolute beast of a building. And let me tell you, Silph Co is most certainly one of my single least favorite places in the entire game. This thing is an 11-floor nonsensical maze, absolutely loaded with trainers. You first enter on a completely deserted ground floor, complete with a pool or fountain or koi pond or something in the middle, and some nice potted plants throughout. But once you go to a different floor, ooh boy. The rooms are mazes, there are locked gates requiring card keys to unlock, and for whatever nutso reason, there are little teleportation blocks you can step on, which somehow takes you to a completely different floor, seemingly at random unless you know the pattern. I mean, you can look at a layout online or in a guide to see what goes where, but if you're going in blind, you will have absolutely no idea which of the 11 floors you teleported to and where. It's an absolute nightmare if you're wandering aimlessly. And on top of that, Silph Co has 30 trainers, plus a fight against Blue, plus an eventual fight against Giovanni. 32 trainers in one building. And let me tell you, if you choose to fight these 30 trainers, you are going to get sick of fighting them real quick. 19 of them are rockets, 10 are scientists, and then there's one single juggler who is the only one trainer other than Blue or Giovanni to provide some variety. Silph Co has been completely overrun by Team Rocket, and many of the employees are pretty much being held hostage here. By exploring around though, you kinda get some information as to what Silph Co even is. You know of the Silphscope already, but also they study Pokeballs, with one scientist informing you that they worked on one that will catch anything, and they also do some generic Pokemon reports, some of which you can read. 4 Pokemon evolve when traded with a link cable, there are 160 Pokemon techniques, and the Pokemon Lab created the first virtual Pokemon, a Porygon. With 19 rockets throughout the building, there is naturally going to be quite a few different Pokemon. 17 in fact, with a bunch of different types, although as usual, Poison is the most common. The rockets here use combinations of Zubat and Golbat, Rattata and Raticate, Cubone and Marowak, Drowsy and Hypno, Ekans and Arbok, Machop and Machoke, Koffing and Weezing, Grimer, and even a poor abused Sandshrew and Sandslash, and now I'm mad. You leave them alone. But I mean, I guess it's cool to start seeing some of the evolved forms here, like Marowak and Hypno and Arbok, as opposed to the same Rattata and Zubat and Ekans that a lot of them have had in the past. So there's that at least. And yeah, the rockets here are nothing new. They are the bad guys who abuse their Pokemon, so what better way to teach them a lesson than to hurt their Pokemon even more? Yeah, that'll show them. And they generally say pretty generic stuff like, Team Rocket has taken control of Silph Co, kids aren't allowed here, etc. One of them on the 4th floor does inform you that the boss is on the 11th floor, so at least you are sort of given a goal floor to get to. You may also run into one of the 4 Rocket Brothers, which may seem like something important, but they really amount to nothing. They all say that one of their brothers will avenge them, and yeah, fat chance of that happening. I think the only one that kinda causes a little chuckle is the one who coughs upon defeating him, in which he says, "That reminds me, coughing evolves into wheezing." That's good stuff. Scientists, however, are also really seen as bad guys in Gen 1, as they are really quite aligned with Team Rocket here. Most of them seem to be researchers who are more than willing to help Team Rocket out. There are 13 of them in the game, with 10 of them being here and 3 in the Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar. They only use poison and electric types, and here you'll fight combos of Magnemite and Magneton, Voltorb and Electrode, Grimer and Muck, and Koffing and Weezing. So yeah, between the 19 rockets and 10 scientists, there's a good amount of Grimer, Koffing, and Weezing in this building. The one weird dialogue with them is the one who says, "That rotten president, he shouldn't have sent me to the Tixie branch," which apparently is in Russia's no man's land. What is even going on there? Also, Russia and Guyana exist in this universe. Okay. And then there's the lone juggler, and I really have no idea what he's doing here. There are 7 total jugglers in the game, and they are just how they sound. They stand there and juggle Pokemon balls while dressed like a jester. So is this guy here for entertainment? I don't know. You'd think that they would use sphere-shaped Pokemon like Voltorb, but no, they only use Psychic types in Gen 1, and the one here has a Kadabra and Mr. Mime, which is actually pretty neat. This could be your first time seeing a Mr. Mime too, unless you made that trade for one en route too. From Gen 2 on, jugglers start using Voltorb and Electrode, but it's not time for that. Talking to him, he says, "What? There shouldn't be any children here." And it's like, bro, why are you here? So aside from this absolute onslaught of lackey trainers, there are still 2 important fights here. Reaching a specific point on the 7th floor, you are forced to fight Blue before continuing, and this is where his team does really start to differ depending on the starter you took at the beginning. The only 2 Pokemon he uses on all 3 team variations are Pidgeot and Alakazam. 2 team variations have Execute, 2 have Gyarados, and 2 have Growlithe, and then his starter will now be fully evolved of either Venusaur, Charizard, or Blastoise. So this is Blue at his toughest yet. His reason for being here is really just that he saw you enter Saffron City, so he followed you, and once you beat him, he's off to the Pokemon League. Really just a completely random encounter from everything else going on here. But that leaves the big bad himself, the Team Rocket boss, Giovanni, whom you've already defeated in the game corner. He tells you that he and the Silph Company president are discussing a vital business proposition, so really, maybe it's best to let them finish their meeting. It sounds super important. But then he threatens you with a world of pain and engages in a Pokemon battle. So much for that business proposition, I guess. This time, Giovanni ditches that weak Onix that he had in the game corner, but keeps the same Rhyhorn and Kangaskhan, who are now a bit stronger. I mean, they both have Tail Whip now. He also adds a Nidorino and a Nidoqueen to round off his new team of 4. And that's really it. Once you defeat him, he's just like, alright, I'm gonna head out. His Pokemon have all fainted, so now he is unable to function as a human and abandons his entire takeover operation that he probably spent weeks or months or years on just like that. Could he just take his Pokemon to the Pokemon Center and or revive and heal them and take over the building again? I mean, yeah, probably. He already has 30 other henchmen around, but he decides enough is enough. He does tell you that all Pokemon exist for Team Rocket, and then he shall return, and they all do indeed just take off immediately. As a thank you, the president, who is rich and can give you anything, does grant you the single most powerful Pokeball in existence, the Master Ball, which will instantly catch anything without fail. This is the only legitimate way to get a Master Ball, so you better use it wisely. Like on a Zubat, like that blurb in the one guide tells you to do. But of course, there are also quite a few items you can obtain throughout the building, some of which are found once you get the card key. There's a pretty decent mix of the usual potions, status healing, a rare candy, and even a couple permanent stat boosters like protein, calcium, and carbos. There are also 4 TMs located here of Self-Destruct, Takedown, Swords Dance, and even Earthquake, the strongest ground move in the game. So it can be worth exploring if you want to spend the time here figuring out the warp tiles and all that. And on the 9th floor, there actually is a bunch of beds in the corner, and someone tells you that you can rest up here. So luckily this is another option to heal as opposed to going all the way back to the Pokemon Center. And also, you can obtain a brand new Pokemon here just by speaking to somebody on the 7th floor as a thank you for saving them. Lapras is the Water-Ice type transport Pokemon. It's a Pokemon that has been overhunted almost to extinction. It can ferry people across the water. Well, that's just sad. The person who gives it to you also tells you that Lapras is very intelligent, they kept it in their lab, and that it's a very good swimmer. This is the only Lapras you can get in the game, and this one is level 15. But Lapras is pretty well-rounded statistically. I've always personally been pretty indifferent on Lapras. It's fine, not bad. It did always remind me of Dory from Super Mario 64 though, so there's that. And yes, I know that both are very Loch Ness Monster inspired, so it's not a surprising take or anything. But once Team Rocket leaves Silph Co, you are considered a hero, and the rest of Saffron City opens up. Someone even says, people should be flocking back to Saffron now, so you did your good deed for the week. And now you can see what was in those other houses they were blocking, as well as fight in the gym. One of these is Copycat's house. Now, who is Copycat? Well, according to her parents, she's self-centered with only a few friends and she likes to mimic people. And speaking to her results in dialogue between yourself. Or is it? Hi, do you like Pokemon? No, I just asked you. Huh? You're strange. But after that's out of the way, if you happen to have a Pokédoll in your inventory, you can give it to her in exchange for the TM for Mimic, which is a move that copies a move that the opposing Pokemon has. No Pokemon in Gen 1 naturally learn Mimic, but it can be taught to almost any Pokemon. In the other, now open house, just has a couple folks inside with a letter on the table. The letter just tells you what PP does, and the other guy here thinks Copycat is cute. Okay, this is the house that Team Rocket chose to block the entrance to, not Mr. Psychic's? Alright. Which leaves the Pokemon Gym and leader Sabrina, the master of psychic Pokemon. And Sabrina's gym tries to be real cute and utilize the warp panels like in Silph Co. What is with this city and teleporting tiles?
Forget it! Forget it! No more beaming!
The gym is made up of 9 different rooms, and most of the corners of each room have some sort of trial and error warp tile puzzle. You can choose to enter the line of sight of the trainers here to fight them if you choose as well. 4 Psychics and 3 Channelers making their return from Pokemon Tower. The Channelers use the same Ghastly and Haunter combos that they all use, and the Psychics naturally use Psychic types of Slowpoke, Slowbro, Kadabra, and Mr. Mime. And as we all know, Psychic Pokemon fear only ghosts and bugs. I also must point out what one of the Psychics says. There used to be 2 Pokemon gyms in Saffron. The Fighting Dojo next door lost its gym status when we went and creamed them. Wow, interesting. A real brains versus brawn war going on here, I guess. But once you finally reach Sabrina in the center room, she says, "I had a vision of your arrival. I have had psychic powers since I was a child. I first learned to bend spoons with my mind. I dislike fighting, but if you wish, I will show you my powers." Weird that she became a gym leader if she dislikes fighting, but who am I to judge? Sabrina uses a team of 4, and not all psychic types even. A level 38 Kadabra, 37 Mr. Mime, 38 Venomoth, and her main Mon, a level 43 Alakazam. And weirdly, only Kadabra knows the move Psychic. Kadabra, Venomoth, and Alakazam know Psybeam, and Mr. Mime has Confusion, so you can be hit by some sort of psychic attack from any of them. Mr. Mime can also protect your team with Barrier or Light Screen as well. Sabrina can provide a decent challenge, but there's a good chance you'll be higher than her levels and can outspeed her. Alakazam can be an issue though, but defeating her gets you the Marsh Badge as well as the TM for Psywave, which is really just not great. To simplify things, Psywave inflicts a random amount of damage varying between 1 damage and 1.5 times the user's level when used by the player, and between 0 damage and 1.5 times the user's level when used by the opponent. And it only has 80% accuracy, so just go to Mr. Psychic's house a few blocks away and get Psychic instead. And thus, that concludes the potentially exhausting chapter of Saffron City. I mean, I'm already on page 8 of this script, so there can be a lot going on here. But it is pretty cool that it's separated into 2 different segments. Team Rocket taking over the city, and then afterwards where everybody is trying to get back to normal. I already stated that I don't like Silph Company, but it's still a dungeon-like area with its own maze puzzle that can result in getting your team a ton of experience, and some new items or TMs. If you really don't want to spend the time here, then just take the exact warp tiles to get the card key and then go straight to Blue and Giovanni. But I don't know, I never look forward to doing this part. And Saffron does have its characters, if you can call them that, of Mr. Psychic and Copycat and the Karate Master and especially Sabrina, so there is still a bit of personality here. I like the discovery of the 2 gyms in that they are both brains versus brawn based, one with fighting, one with psychic. And since Psychic is super effective over fighting, that's the one that won the ability to be the Pokemon League gym. So yeah, Saffron is certainly a memorable city, being the biggest in Kanto and all. And hey, you even get to save some people in a large corporate building. Very cool. As far as the yellow version goes, there really isn't much different at all. Really, the only changes are to Blue, Giovanni, and Sabrina's teams, and there's one additional encounter with Jesse and James. As for Blue, this time he uses Sandslash and Kadabra on each team variation, and then a different 2 Pokemon combination of Magneton, Ninetales, and Cloyster, depending on the final form of his original Eevee. Because, yeah, you also do fight either Vaporeon, Jolteon, or Flareon as his final Mon. Jesse and James hit you with their Arbok, Weezing, and Meowth, and then Giovanni retains the same Nidorino, Rhyhorn, and Nidoqueen team, just with some different moves. But his Kangaskhan is now swapped out for Persian, making it more aligned with the anime. Sabrina's team is a bit different as she ditches Mr. Mime and Venomoth in favor of the entire Abra line, each at level 50. Abra only knows Flash, but Kadabra and Alakazam each knowing Psychic at level 50 does make them a bit scarier than in Red and Blue. Fire Red and Leaf Green actually makes Saffron City feel a bit smaller. The original map had these houses at the border just as a background, and even though you couldn't enter them, it did feel like a bigger city. Now there's just a bunch of trees around it and it feels more compact. The houses and buildings are in familiar places though, and there's now a place called the Pokemon Trainer Fan Club, which is just a place where fan club members list trainers or gym leaders that they like. The dojo is pretty close to being the same, although the leaders Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan have some stronger moves. We do learn here that the leader's name is Koichi as well. Also, the one you get is now 5 levels lower at 25, but the trade-off here is that the free Lapras you get in Silph Co is now 10 levels higher at 25, so I actually like this change overall. It was a little weird to get a free level 30 and then a level 15 in the same city. Speaking of Silph Co, we confirm right away that the water in the middle of the first floor is indeed a water fountain. Nice. The trainer layout is the same though, 19 rocket grunts, 10 named scientists, and then that one juggler. Blue and Giovanni are back to having their exact same teams from Red and Blue, just with some updated moves. The items are also a bit different, and without going over every single difference, I think the new TMs found here are worth mentioning. Now you can find the TMs for Torment, Bulk Up, and Focus Punch. Not quite as exciting as finding Earthquake, but it's something different. And Sabrina's gym also goes back to the Red and Blue teams, just with updated moves. Sabrina's Alakazam now has Psychic, Recover, Future Sight, and Calm Mind, so I'd say that's an improvement over her original one. Your TM reward here is for Calm Mind instead of Psywave too. But now we're at the Let's Go games, and as expected, a bit is different. Firstly, Copycat now gives you the TM for Substitute instead of Mimic.
This time you've gone too far!
She loves mimicking people, not substitutions. But this actually kind of fits because substitution is all about the Pokédoll, so whatever. You can also find a hidden Moonstone in her room, so get to thieving. The dojo has the black belts who now use one Pokemon each, and not all fighting types, which is weird. 2 of them have a Graveler and Poliwhirl. There's a coach trainer here with a Machoke and Electabuzz who gives you the TM for Thunder Punch after. So then you fight Koichi's Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. Wait, he only has a Poliwrath? I mean, Poliwrath is part fighting type, but what? What a weird change. You also still get a free Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan after. However, in the post-game, you can come back here to fight the Master Trainers for them, so you can still fight both Hitmons here. As for Silph Company, I really do like the look of the place here. It looks and feels more like a big corporate office building, and I think they did a nice job with it. As for trainers, you'll see rocket grunts and scientists per usual, and naturally in these games, they typically use less Pokemon. Although you will see some new ones here like Persian, Electabuzz, Magmar, and Porygon. Blue now fights you right on the first floor with his super cool team of Executor and Charizard. Trace is also here, but he joins you in fighting Team Rocket admin Archer and a Grunt. The 11th floor fight kicks off with a battle against Jesse and James's Arbok and Weezing, and then the almighty Rocket Boss Giovanni fights you with his Persian, Rhyhorn, and Nidoqueen. So no Nidorino this time. And there are a ton of items here too, with the notable TMs being Flash Cannon, Dragon Pulse, Flamethrower, and the return of Self-Destruct. But hey, once you clear out the Silph Co chapter and save the president, a man in Saffron City will also give you a free Porygon, so that's pretty sweet. There was that passing mention of Porygon here way back in Red and Blue. Porygon is the pure normal type virtual Pokemon. Porygon is the only Pokemon that people anticipate can fly into space. None have managed this feat yet, however. This is the first I've read of this, so that's an interesting dex entry. And yeah, Porygon has already been mentioned in the Celadon City episode, but since there's no longer a game corner in the Let's Go games, you get a free one here, and they're also found in the wild on Route 7. Another Pokemon you can acquire is from an in-game trade. In the Saffron Pokemon Center, someone offers you an Alolan Raichu for a regular Raichu, and this is the case with all of the Alolan versions in this game. So Saffron is just the place where the Raichu trade happens. Alolan Raichu is the electric psychic type mouse Pokemon. It loves pancakes.
Pancakes! No pancakes!
Prepared with a secret Alolan recipe. Some wonder whether the recipe holds the key to this Pokemon's evolution. Yeah, Alolan Raichu is all about pancakes for some reason. I don't know, I got nothing. Sabrina's gym now has a couple ace trainers along with the psychics and channelers, and one has a Jinx for seeing a different psychic type here. Speaking of, Sabrina's team has changed as well. Mr. Mime and Alakazam return, and gone are Kadabra and Venomoth in place of Slowbro and Jinx. I mean, Venomoth isn't even a psychic type, so I do like this change. Alakazam has always been her one consistent signature Pokemon, so that has to be here. She also has a rematch team with everybody now in their mid-50s range, and she adds a Hypno. But it's time to head into the future and look at Saffron City in Gens 2 and 4. In Gen 2, the city does look a little different. I guess a couple buildings have been demolished with new ones built in that 3-year span. The Fighting Dojo is now pretty empty, as the master has gone to Mount Mortar to train, so not much to do here except for picking up a free focus band. And well, same for Silph Co. You now can't even progress beyond the first floor as security blocks you from exploring, and honestly, yeah, maybe a child shouldn't be wandering aimlessly around some big office building with people working. Unless you're, Red, who is saving everybody from a hostage situation. But not all is lost by coming here. The guard will give you a free upgrade, which is the item needed to evolve Porygon into Porygon 2, and this is the only way to get one in Gold and Silver. Sabrina's gym is fully intact, but now with less trainers. Only 2 Psychics and 2 Mediums, which are basically the renamed Channelers. Sabrina's team is now a team of 3, with Mr. Mime and Alakazam being her returning members, plus the addition of a Gen 2 mon of Espeon. Now that's cool. But probably the biggest change with Saffron City weirdly has to deal with Copycat and the brand new Magnet Train station. This new Magnet Train goes between Saffron City and Goldenrod City in Johto, but you have to first get the train up and running again by returning a stolen part to the power plant, and then you need to acquire a pass. I like how you're responsible for getting the entire transit system in operation again, allowing travel between 2 regions, and they're like, nah bro, you need a pass to ride the train. So the way to get a pass is through Copycat, who gives you one in exchange for a Pokédoll. Now that's just silly. Heart Gold and Soul Silver has the city looking a little different yet again. The whole thing just has a darker look to it. The Fighting Dojo is now the locale where you can rematch against every single gym leader in the post-game, which is pretty nuts. There's a whole schedule for who is there on what day and at what time, and I think that's a pretty fun addition. Silph Co is now off limits to explore, but now it's because the elevator is broken. However, it is here where after defeating Red, you can return to speak with the Hoenn League champion, Steven Stone, who gives you your choice of one of the Hoenn starters, Treecko, Torchic, or Mudkip, which is actually pretty awesome. Treecko is the pure grass-type wood gecko Pokemon. Small hooks on the bottom of its feet catch on walls and ceilings. That is how it can hang from above. Torchic is the pure fire-type chick Pokemon. Inside its body is a place where it keeps a small flame. Hug it! It will be as warm as a hot water bottle. Okay guys. And then Mudkip is the pure water-type mudfish Pokemon. Its power can crush boulders. It rests by covering itself with mud at the bottom of a river. My personal favorite here, Torchic. And that's not even all either. If you've already spoken with him in Pewter City, he will also offer you a trade here. A Beldum for a Forretress. Beldum is the Steel Psychic type Iron Ball Pokemon. The magnetic force generated by its body repels the ground's natural magnetism, letting it float. And while I think Beldum is just okay, Metagross is awesome. Beldum are only found in this trade here or in a specific part of the Safari Zone. As for Sabrina's gym, it's pretty much unchanged from Gen 2, although her Espeon, Mr. Mime, and Alakazam are all a bit higher leveled. The Magnet Train and Copycat are still a thing, but there's yet another trade you can make at the train station, and it's a weird one. Lieutenant Surge himself will be here after you've defeated him, and he wants to make a trade of his Pikachu for one that you have. If you're playing an English version, his Pikachu will be French, and if you're playing a Japanese game, it'll be English. Very strange, but kinda neat, and I have never known about this until now. And oh wow, that was a bit to go over, yikes. And we aren't done yet, far from it. Firstly, Saffron City is in some side games. Pokemon Pinball is always very straightforward. A small Saffron City picture can appear and then you are able to find and catch Ekans, Sandshrew, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, and Lapras. I mean, I guess some of the rockets used Ekans and Sandshrew? Well, that works. But I think the big one is that Saffron City is the place they chose to base a stage on in Super Smash Bros. This was a game my friends and I were so into at release, and I've stated this before, but this picture that I show in every single video is us playing Super Smash Bros. and if you look closely, that kinda looks like the Saffron City stage. This video right here is the one that is most relevant to this picture. Or maybe it's not Saffron at all, I don't know. But this stage takes place at the top of Silph Co and is considered to be the home stage of the two playable Pokemon characters, Pikachu and Jigglypuff. I always really like this stage too. Occasionally, some Pokemon will appear from the Silph Co elevator. Venusaur will pop out to deal damage and sometimes use Razor Leaf. Charmander uses a little flamethrower attack. Electrode explodes. Chansey can heal a player for a little bit and can throw eggs, which can be items or bombs, and then Porygon dishes out some quick damage. You can also see Pidgey, Fearow, Butterfree, and Moltres in the background for some fun little immersion. This stage also made its return in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Good times. And lastly, the Saffron Gym is of course one of the stages in the Gym Leader Castle in Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. Sabrina's team changes a bit depending on the round and game, and Round 2 in Stadium 2 goes in some wacky places. She has Pokemon like Hitmonlee, Typhlosion, Scizor, and Sandslash. And now we've reached the anime segment, and I'll try to break this down as concisely as possible because Saffron City is mentioned or appears a number of times. But we of course gotta start with its debut in the 22nd episode, Abra and the Psychic Showdown. An episode that's definitely up there as one of the creepiest ones. It opens with an unnamed woman with a little girl on her lap as her eyes glow red as she says,
"So now, time for us to play."
As she telepathically watches Ash, Misty, and Brock walking through a forest. They soon see that little girl by herself as Ash runs after her before almost falling off a cliff to his death. He quickly brings out Bulbasaur to save him, but the little girl had vanished. They realize they have made their way to Saffron City, and not only do they not have to go bribe guards with water just to get in, but a couple Hawaiian girls greet them at the entrance because they have won prizes for being the 1,000,000th, 1,000,000th and 1st, 1,000,000th and 2nd, and 1,000,000th and 3rd visitors to Saffron City. Wow, that's pretty cool. Hey, wait, it was just Team Rocket. Jesse and James trap them in a room with no windows or doors through the use of a warp tile in order to steal Pikachu, and that's pretty awesome and fitting that the stupid warp tiles get utilized here. But the little girl shows up, paralyzes Jesse and James, returns Pikachu to Ash, and then teleports them right out in front of the Saffron Gym. A jogging man runs up and tells them not to bother with the gym, but Ash really does not care about warnings. He wants to win a Marsh badge no matter what. So they enter and see a room with people practicing telekinesis before being greeted by a psychic. And now we know this episode takes place in 2020. He demonstrates telekinesis by bending a spoon, and Ash demands that he takes them to Sabrina, the gym leader. When they enter, things start to feel real sinister as the man bows down requesting Sabrina's presence. But they only see the little girl from earlier as her eyes glow red and the man runs out in fear. The little girl tells Ash that he can only battle her if he agrees that Ash, Misty, and Brock will play with her if he loses. And Ash is all like, sure, whatever. They soon discover that the little girl was on the actual gym leader's lap as they finally meet Sabrina, a stern-faced, calm-speaking woman with long, dark green hair. Sabrina says that the rules will be one-on-one, and Ash agrees. She telepathically sends out her Pokeball with an Abra inside, as Ash sends Pikachu. But Abra just sits there without moving. Confused, Ash has Pikachu use Thunder Shock, but Sabrina telepathically has Abra use Teleport to get behind Pikachu, and then somehow she telepathically evolves Abra into Kadabra. Ash has Pikachu use its strongest Thunder attack, but Kadabra easily fences off with Confusion to send the electricity to chase Pikachu. Sabrina has Kadabra then use Psychic to repeatedly slam Pikachu from the ceiling to the floor over and over until Ash forfeits. It's pretty brutal looking actually. But since Ash lost, they now must play with the little girl as she shrinks them all down to enter a dollhouse. The little girl then basically tries to kill them by rolling a ball over them when suddenly that random jogger appears out of nowhere and teleports them all back out of the gym. He tells them to leave the city immediately because Sabrina is way too dangerous, and yeah, I agree. Look at how easily she bested and almost had them killed. But Ash's determination stays strong, and while the man is using psychic powers on him to demonstrate the power of the psychic type, Ash refuses to back down. The man also apparently wanted to see Ash in his underwear, so seriously Ash, you should really leave Saffron City for multiple reasons. But the man tells Ash that the only way he would have any chance at defeating Sabrina is to go to Lavender Town to catch a ghost Pokemon. And then the episode ends with Ash planning to do so as we see Jessie and James being dragged by Meowth, still paralyzed. So yeah, this is really some episode, I gotta say. It's definitely memorable with how creepy they made Sabrina and the little girl. I'm not personally affected by the creepy children's genre of horror, but there are a lot of people who are, which is why it's a genre to begin with. Movies like The Omen, Children of the Corn, Orphan. I mean, I kinda like these movies. But still, this little girl is giving off those creepy child horror vibes with her constant giggle. I'm currently replaying Resident Evil 7, so this felt pretty fitting to watch now. It's a pretty solid episode, and they really make the psychic type feel a bit overpowered, which it certainly was in Gen 1. Sabrina choosing to send out Abra of all Pokemon in a 1v1 seems confusing for everyone at first because it just sits there asleep, but her evolving it into Kadabra is a fun twist, even if it goes against game logic. But it ends with Ash losing, and on a cliffhanger, as Ash needs to go to Lavender Town to catch a ghost type. Even if Kadabra using Psychic on a ghost Pokemon would most likely knock it out in one hit. Oh well, at least it gives Ash a goal. But the next episode, the Tower of Terror, does take place in Lavender Town, so it's not fitting to this episode. Also, I already made a Lavender Town video and talked about it there. They make it to Lavender Town, Ash and Pikachu die, it's a whole thing. But by the end, a Haunter follows them back to Saffron City to help Ash take on Sabrina again. So episode 24 is their return to Saffron City in Haunter vs. Kadabra. It begins with Ash, Misty, and Brock arriving back at Saffron City, and Ash asks Haunter if it will help him win the gym battle. But this Haunter is all about the jokes, so it just kinda agrees by laughing and saying its name. Misty and Brock are very reluctant to enter the gym based on what happened last time, and yeah, I agree. But they go in anyway to support Ash. Ash once again challenges Sabrina to a gym battle as Sabrina sends out her Kadabra and Ash calls for Haunter. But Haunter is nowhere to be found. Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle are all way too afraid of Kadabra, so they refuse to go into battle. Ash forfeits, and they all try to run out, but Sabrina turns Misty and Brock into dolls before they make it out. The Jogging Man again teleports in out of nowhere to bring Ash and his Pokemon to safety outside. The man tells Ash some backstory about Sabrina, how even as a little girl, she was obsessed with harnessing her psychic powers and wanted to isolate herself from people. She even destroyed her family's house and was able to separate herself into two personalities. The stern woman with strong psychic abilities, and the innocent little girl who just wants friends. And there's kind of a funny little recurring joke of Ash really not registering that this man is so obviously Sabrina's father, so he thinks he's just some random photographer who knows Sabrina. So Ash sets out into Saffron City to find where Haunter went. It then cuts to Jessie, James, and Meowth having some plan to capture Pikachu again, when Haunter shows up and causes them to fall to their death from a tall building by making Jessie laugh. Or at least they would have died if this wasn't a kid's cartoon. But Ash thanks Haunter for not letting Pikachu be captured, and once again asks Haunter to help him battle Sabrina. Haunter just kinda nods and laughs like it usually does, and they yet again head back into the gym. Ash challenges Sabrina again, this time with Haunter next to him, so she sends out Kadabra. But yet again, Haunter just disappears, much to the frustration of Ash and all of the viewers. But this time, Pikachu steps up to the challenge, which brings Ash to tears. So Pikachu and Kadabra have a rematch, and eventually Pikachu actually does successfully get a Thunderbolt hit on Kadabra. But Sabrina has Kadabra use Recover, and they're back to where they started. But all of a sudden, Haunter shows up right in front of Sabrina and begins to contort its face to try and make Sabrina laugh, before exploding a cartoon bomb in front of them. And it actually works. Sabrina's stern expression turns into a smile and she begins to laugh. The man appears again and says how happy he is to see Sabrina laughing. Sabrina laughing also causes Kadabra to ROTFL, and the man declares Kadabra unable to battle and Ash is the winner, as Misty and Brock are returned to normal. So Ash leaves with a Marsh badge as they all wave back at Sabrina, her father, and Haunter, who apparently decided to stay with them as the episode ends with Ash, Misty, and Brock heading to Celadon City, and Team Rocket being covered in cement. So yeah, honestly, I'm really not a fan of this episode. A lot of fans, and I think Misty does as well, criticize some original anime storylines of Ash just being given badges for pretty silly reasons, and I think this episode is the epitome of this. It's literally called Haunter vs. Kadabra, and that is such a deceiving title that you would think it was one of Haunter's pranks. Maybe that is what they were going for. Haunter inadvertently makes Kadabra laugh. That's the entire versus part from the title. Abra and the Psychic Showdown had such a sinister vibe and really showed how powerful and dangerous psychic types can be, even causing Ash to go out of his way to find a ghost type just to stand a chance. But Ash doesn't even do that, as a random Haunter just follows him back and continuously disappears. That's all well and good and makes for a little bit of tension, but I'm really just not a fan of how all of this wraps up here. Haunter making Sabrina laugh can be a good character development moment for her, but everything concludes in such a quick and ridiculous tidy bow at the end here. Haunter, who technically isn't even Ash's Pokemon by the way, is apparently so funny that it is able to change everything about Sabrina in an instant, including making Kadabra unable to battle because it's laughing so much. This Marsh badge is so incredibly unearned and undeserving to go to Ash. I mean, he did show his determination by trying 3 times to battle her, same for Pikachu, so I'll give them that, but a wild Pokemon that isn't even technically his just causing the gym leader and her Pokemon to laugh as a conclusion is pretty stupid. But yes, this is a kid's cartoon which is trying to teach a lesson, so game-accurate battling simply isn't the focus here. I still don't care for it, especially with how good the setup for Sabrina was. So those are my thoughts with this little trilogy here. The next time we see Saffron City is all the way in the 417th episode, the Saffron Con of the Advanced Battle Season. A few episodes prior, May was informed that there is a Pokemon contest in Saffron City where she can earn a Kanto ribbon. So the episode starts with May and company arriving at the contest hall in Saffron City, which is a brand new thing for this city. In fact, this episode really has nothing to do with the familiar Saffron City at all, but it almost entirely takes place there, so it absolutely counts in this video. As they step inside, they watch an Espeon rehearsing for the contest by using Swift and Psychic, so I guess right there, the move Psychic is the familiarity connection. But seeing this excites May's Squirtle to enter the contest. Here they meet Lillian, the younger sister of Vivian who runs the Hoenn contests. They also run into Harley, who is a brand new character to me, so I don't really know the whole backstory there. But they are really not excited to see him. He lies to May and tells her that she can use her Hoenn Pass instead of a Kanto one to enter the contest, secretly hoping that she is unable to register. We then see Jessie dressed as her alias, Jessabella, entering the contest, and Meowth convinces her to use James's Cacnea. For some reason. I love Cacnea and all, but this plan really wasn't clear to me. So, in planning to be ready, Cacnea gets all tangled in Jessie's hair and has to go to the Pokemon Center. James and Meowth stay behind to plan on stealing all of the participants' Pokemon, and they actually do so, including Ash's Pikachu and May's Squirtle. But Harley shows up with his Ariados and has it use Spiderweb to stop their balloon. Squirtle uses Ice Beam to send them blasting off again, which is a surprise to everybody. Then, when May goes to enter the contest, she is denied because she only has a Hoenn Pass and missed the deadline, realizing Harley had tricked her. But Lillian shows up and says all of the captured Pokemon were returned thanks to May, so she officially gets to enter. And the story continues in the next episode, A Hurdle for Squirtle. This is, of course, all about the contest itself, and there's a bit more excitement and enjoyment here since we get to see a bunch of Pokemon doing Pokemon stuff for the entire thing. The first round is all about their Pokemon using move combos to impress the judges. Harley goes up first with his Cacturn using Cotton Spore and then Needle Arm, and it impresses everybody. A few rounds later, it's Empress Jessabella's turn where she uses James's Cacnea. Her plan is to have the two of them run to each other to embrace, which causes everybody to cry due to Cacnea's needles certainly causing pain in Jessie's, chest. She then has Cacnea use Pin Missile into the air, which showers down in a fireworks-like display, also impressing everybody. But the intense pain causes Jessie to pass out and she gets taken away. During May's turn, she uses her Combuskin, where she throws her hat into the air, has Combuskin use Sky Uppercut, and then Fire Spin around the hat, which lands on May's head. All three advance to the next round, where they are randomly paired in a one-on-one Pokemon battle. The first round is Harley versus Jessie, who has since recovered apparently. Harley uses his Ariados against Jessie's Wobbuffet. But both of them decide to do nothing, and they both take a yellow flag penalty for it, as Harley knows any attack would be countered or mirror-coated by Wobbuffet. But he has Ariados use String Shot instead, which can't be countered, and it proceeds to turn Wobbuffet into a puppet, and Jessie gets eliminated. May's Squirtle continues on into the tournament, knocking out a Crobat and a Weepinbell, while Harley advances as well. It's down to Harley versus May in the finals. It's a pretty fun battle, with Ariados continuously getting the upper hand on Squirtle as May begins to lose points. At one point, she has Squirtle use Ice Beam, which it isn't able to control yet, and Squirtle launches backwards. But after Squirtle gets caught in Ariados' web, May has Squirtle use Ice Beam again to simultaneously freeze Ariados and get free. She has Squirtle use Bubble and then Tackle to knock out Ariados and win the contest, earning herself a Kanto ribbon. And that's really about it. As I said, these two really have very little to do with Saffron City itself and could have been in any city. But it does make sense that it would be Saffron since it is the biggest city in Kanto. It was a fun little duology of episodes though, and I thought the contest itself was pretty fun to watch. I assumed May would win, but I mean, Ash isn't always victorious, so there was still at least a little suspense in seeing what happens. But oh, did I say duology? Because nope, we aren't done yet. The very next episode also takes place in Saffron City, Pasta La Vista. And this one is all about noodles. After May wins the contest, she thinks they should all get some food at the local noodle shop, which I can assume is located right here. Ash wants to continue on to the battle arena instead, but Max shows Ash that Saffron City has a Fighting Dojo. And oh yeah, they actually made an episode about the Saffron Fighting Dojo, nice. Ash is excited of course, so he and Max head there while May and Brock go to the noodle shop. When May and Brock arrive, the line is really long outside and they see two people arguing as they leave the noodle shop, one being the chef named Kyle. Brock has his usual hard eyes for the girl named Terry, so May and Brock follow them because May needs those noodles. Team Rocket is also around with their own noodle food cart, but they realize none of them know how to cook noodles, and Meowth has a genuinely funny line of,
"Noodles? But I don't know nothing about linguistics."
That's a great line. Ash and Max arrive at the dojo and meet the owner, Master Ham. Master Ham has them start cleaning the floors as Team Rocket looks in from the outside, hoping to steal some fighting-type Pokemon instead of cooking. But as it turns out, Kyle and Terry argue their way to the Fighting Dojo because Kyle is the son of Master Ham and Terry is the only student left. Master Ham was making Ash and Max clean the floors because Kyle refuses to help due to him spending his time at the noodle shop. His father has plans for Kyle to take over the dojo, but it's not what Kyle wants. Yeah, we all know this trope. So they decide that they need to settle this dispute once and for all, and the way they do this is having a Pokemon battle, which, yes, is a ridiculous way to resolve some life-altering decisions, and even Terry and Max point this out. But the battle commences anyway. Master Ham sends out his Hitmonlee, and Kyle uses Hitmonchan, and now it's really feeling more like Saffron City. But by getting into the heat of the battle, Master Ham throws his back out by telling Hitmonlee to use a jump kick. Ash offers to battle with Hitmonlee for Master Ham, and I guess he chose a side pretty quickly. But Kyle says having a substitution disregards what they're even fighting for, so May says she will use his Hitmonchan, having all of this really make even less sense. But she wants those noodles no matter what. So they each get to training, and Kyle and Terry talk a little more, with Terry telling him that she hoped the two of them would take over the dojo together, which disappoints Brock. But it's time for the battle, and yeah, it's pretty exciting watching Hitmonlee versus Hitmonchan in the Saffron Dojo, I gotta say. They're both pretty evenly matched when Ash and May prepare them to use their ultimate attack, Focus Punch. Just before they can dish out those blows, Team Rocket of course shows up in a surprise to no one, as they turn their noodle cart into a fighting-type catching machine, and immediately scoop up Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. Terry sends out her surprise Hitmontop to easily stop them as they blast off again. Kyle then explains that he only wanted to be a noodle chef because his father made the best noodles he's ever had when he was a kid, which really touches Master Ham. Master Ham tells Kyle he should pursue his dream of cooking noodles, and Terry suggests that she should be the one to take over the dojo, with Master Ham agreeing. As it turns out, Master Ham's dream was to travel the world selling noodles from a food cart. So Master Ham cooks them all some of his famous noodles as everyone plans to leave Saffron City at the end. So yeah, an interesting little trilogy here, and I kinda liked them. The Saffron Con was a little slow with its setup for a hurdle for Squirtle, but it helped with the build-up for the contest itself, which was pretty fun. Then Pasta La Vista really had nothing to do with the last two at all, but really implemented elements of Saffron City from the game. Honestly, this episode about Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan at the Fighting Dojo really felt like it was straight out of the original season, and I wonder if this was an idea they had but chose not to use it at the time or something. Misty would have been with them instead of May and Max, of course, but it really just had that original season feel. I actually laughed a few times during it too, so yeah, I enjoyed these last few episodes. Saffron City is mentioned a couple times here and there, but we don't actually really see it until way into the 1119th episode, or the 34th episode of Pokemon Journeys, Solitary and Menacing, which has Ash and Go headed to the Saffron Dojo again. Oh, awesome. We can see how it's going now with Terry running the dojo, and if Kyle and Master Ham had any luck with their noodle business, and oh, there's no mention of them at all. I guess there are 2 fighting dojos in Saffron City. But this starts with Ash planning on battling against the Karate Master, and Go has to choose between getting a free Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan, but he can't decide. And this feels more like the game than that whole noodle episode, I guess. So this is probably the real dojo, and that one is some knockoff side thing. But Ash's phone notifies him that a coronation challenger is nearby. Just as Ash enters, the Karate Master's fainted Hitmonchan flies through the doorway and on top of Ash. This Hitmonchan was completely outmatched by this trainer who reveals herself to be the Galar fighting type gym leader, Bee. So the two of them begin to square off with a 2 Pokemon coronation battle. Bee is ranked higher than Ash, but Ash is overconfident since he's undefeated. So it begins with Ash's Farfetch'd against Bee's Hawlucha, and it's a pretty fun battle. But Hawlucha gets the best of Farfetch'd, and Ash is down to 1. He sends out Riolu, and Bee uses her Graplocked, the one that easily knocked out the Hitmonchan from earlier. Graplocked is pretty easily dealing with Riolu, and Ash has to think outside the box, as they point out. He has Riolu attack the floor to completely destroy the dojo, but nobody seems upset about it. And the dojo looks fine at the end anyway, so I guess that didn't happen? But even that isn't enough, and Graplocked pretty easily gets the win, and Ash receives his first loss and a drop in the coronation standings. He plans to get stronger to take on Bee again in the future. The episode ends with Go having chosen Hitmonchan, and that's really about it. A very straightforward battling episode, no side story, no Team Rocket. Pokemon doing Pokemon battling, which is usually what people want to see in the show anyway. And yeah, it was pretty fun stuff. I'd say it's kind of a shame that the continuity is completely gone with no mention of Terry running the dojo, but this is more of a retcon to have the Karate Master here, and that you can get a free Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan by visiting, so this is even more game accurate. But that's really it for Saffron City in the original anime. 1 arc about Sabrina, 1 about a Pokemon contest, and 2 separate stories about the Fighting Dojo. Silph Company really doesn't have a presence in the anime, unless you count those warp tiles that Team Rocket used to trap Ash and company. That probably is Silph Co. But no Mr. Psychic, no Thirsty Guards, no Copycat. Although the character of Duplica is referred to as the Copycat Girl in the episode Ditto's Mysterious Mansion. But oh,
Just take a look at this.
File 3 Giovanni of Pokemon Origins does deal with Saffron City quite a bit. Although, as is the case with Pokemon Origins, it's pretty rushed and only takes up about half of the episode. However, this is all about Silph Co, so that's pretty cool. Red and Blue both arrive in Saffron City and notice a woman running away from some Team Rocket grunts. They meet up with her outside of the city, and she tells them that she's a secretary for Silph Co, and Team Rocket has taken over the building to try and take the Master Ball prototype. But since it's only a prototype, Team Rocket is forcing the scientists to work on perfecting it, all while capturing wild Pokemon for experiments. And seeing this poor Sandshrew tied up like that turns me into the Arthur Fist meme. You leave him alone. So Red is the one who bullies Blue into taking this woman to the Celadon City police station while he plans on infiltrating Silph Co alone. And he does so extremely easily and frees all of the captured Pokemon and gets a free Lapras from a scientist before making his way to the top where Giovanni and the president are discussing their business deal. From Red planning on going in to reaching Giovanni at the top takes a total of 27 seconds in the episode. So the two of them engage in a quick battle of Red's Charizard versus Giovanni's Nidoqueen, and Nidoqueen beats Charizard pretty easily. Red has Charizard use Flamethrower at the end, which completely destroys the top of the building and knocks the power out. He tells Red that Pokemon are tools of business. Red says Pokemon are their friends, and Giovanni tells him that he continues to let his friends feel the pain of battling. So with Red suffering absolutely no consequences for the destruction of Silph Co, he narrates how he defeated Sabrina and the Karate Master in just a few seconds, and the episode continues on outside of Saffron City. I will continue to say that this show really does have some good ideas and animation and all that, and really tries to follow the game's story. But man, it always feels way too rushed that it's hard to get invested. It's the entirety of the red and blue versions condensed into 4 total episodes, and that's just too bad. As for the TCG, there isn't a whole lot to bring up. The Gym Challenge set from '99 and 2000 does have the Saffron City Gym card, which is a stadium card that allows each player the ability to return a basic energy on any of Sabrina's Pokemon back to their hand once per turn. This is obviously situational, and you'd only ever use it in a deck revolving around Sabrina's Pokemon, but it's something. Then, way in 2018 and 2019, Sabrina's Suggestion in the Team Up and Hidden Fates expansions is a supporter card that shows Sabrina in the Saffron Gym. This has your opponent reveal their hand, and you may use the effects of a supporter card if they have one. Pretty sweet, but it could do nothing at the same time. Then also in the 2019 expansions, Unbroken Bonds and Cosmic Eclipse, there's a stadium card called Martial Arts Dojo, which looks very much like the Saffron Fighting Dojo. This says that the attacks of non-Ultra Beast Pokemon that have any fighting energies attached to them do an additional 10 more damage. But whichever player has more prize cards left, it does an additional 40 damage. This is a fun one, I like it. And that's really about it for the TCG, unless you count all of Sabrina's Pokemon from the Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge expansions, but my god, we'd be here all day. Saffron City only. Which just leaves the manga. And Saffron City and Silph Co make up an 8-part story arc in chapters 26 to 33 of the Red, Green, and Blue arc. So for the sake of not dragging this out for too much longer, I'll try and do a quick rundown. Saffron City is first seen in Holy Moltres, but only briefly at the end. It shows Sabrina and Silph Co learning that Team Rocket's plan in Cinnabar failed as Koga mocks her for failing, even having a Moltres. Giovanni then has all 3 legendary birds captured. In Calling Kadabra, Green is trying to get into Saffron City but is kicked out by the guard at the gate, and finally this whole thing is brought up in something outside of the games. Blue then also notices that all entrances to the city are closed, so he uses his Charizard to fly around the city as he sees Green doing the same with her Jigglypuff. Blue gets stopped by an invisible barrier surrounding the city, which has to be what gave Stephen King his inspiration for writing Under the Dome. There's then a whole thing in Pallet Town with Sabrina using her Kadabra to pretend to be Professor Oak, as he and the citizens of Pallet Town are being held captive in Saffron City. Sabrina teleports away and Blue shows up and tells Red about the barrier. Piece of Mime has Red and Blue arriving at Saffron City to try and break through this barrier. Blue eventually uses his Golduck to find what's causing this barrier as he discovers Team Rocket is using a Mr. Mime outside of Silph Co to create a light screen around Saffron City. Red has Pikachu use Substitute to get into the city as Blue uses Golduck to guide it. Pikachu finds Mr. Mime and knocks it out with a Thunderbolt to stop the light screen. Red and Blue then run to Silph Co. Go for the Golbat continues the story inside Silph Co. Koga ends up trapping Blue by using a Grimer, and Red falls through a trapdoor and gets attacked by Lieutenant Surge's electric types. Zap Zap Zapdos deals with Green entering Silph Co and gets into a confrontation with Sabrina and her Kadabra. Red then is able to stop Lieutenant Surge and Zapdos by having Ivysaur cut cables attached to Zapdos to have Thunder hit Lieutenant Surge. In The Art of Articuno, Koga legit attempts to decapitate Blue with his Golbat. Yikes. And a battle ensues with Koga using Articuno to freeze them. They eventually get free and knock out Koga with Pikachu and Porygon. A little Kadabra will do it, continues the fight between Green and Sabrina, and Green temporarily stops Sabrina with the help of Clefairy and Jigglypuff, and takes her Marsh Badge. Supposedly, the gym badges are a source of power when combined, so Green uses Ditto to disguise herself as Sabrina to send the Team Rocket guards away, who were guarding them. Blue sets Professor Oak free, and then Green trades her Marsh Badge to Red in exchange for a Moonstone so she can try and beat Sabrina once and for all. Sabrina shows up and it's revealed that 2 gym badges are fakes, but Green has the real ones. Sabrina calls upon Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres to surround Red as Green replaces the fake badges with the real ones. The Winged Legends shows the badge machine combining the legendary birds into one hybrid known as Thuphizer. The plan all along was to have Red and Blue obtain these gym badges for them to create this abomination. Red then uses a moonstone from earlier to evolve Green's Clefairy into Clefable to try and use an amplified metronome to stop Thufizer. Sabrina causes Red, Green, and Blue to almost fall to their death, but Ivysaur saves them. Ivysaur then evolves into Venusaur, as combined with attacks from Blue's Charizard and Green's Blastoise, they cause the building to be destroyed and the hybrid birds separate and fly away. Team Rocket members are then stopped at the Saffron City gates by Brock, Misty, and Erica. Yeah, what a crazy series of events here. Lieutenant Surge, Koga, and Sabrina are straight up evil in this, which is such a wild take. It's funny thinking of the dialogue in the games where Sabrina dislikes battling and she just wants to bend spoons. Then there's stuff like this. It's definitely exciting and intense, and really cool to see an epic storyline with Silph Co here. Ponyta, Tale of the Yellow Arc, just briefly shows Agatha retrieving the badge amplifier machine from the Silph Co ruins. Chapter 4 of The Electric Tale of Pikachu, Haunting My Dreams, has Ash arriving to the Saffron City gym, but faints from exhaustion. Ash, Sabrina, and Brock converse a little, and Sabrina accepts Ash's challenge. And then it somewhat follows the anime here. Sabrina sends out a sleeping Abra against Ash's Pikachu, and Abra wins from reflecting Pikachu's attack. But then it's not like the anime at all, as Brock says he and Sabrina are old friends. Sabrina leaves and gets a call. It's then revealed that a haunter, known as the Black Fog, sucked out Sabrina's soul with Dream Eater. Sabrina telepathically has her Abra communicate to Ash and Brock to go to Lavender Town to save Sabrina. The rest takes place in Lavender Town, which I think I discussed in that episode. I don't know, it was the first one. But Sabrina does get saved and the Black Fog ends up killing itself in the process. Which finally leaves Pokemon Zensho to conclude this long video. Chapter 6 has Satoshi arriving in Saffron City, where he learns through Sabrina that Team Rocket has taken over Silph Co. Sabrina teleports away, and Satoshi learns from the Karate Master that Team Rocket stole Sabrina's psychic Lapras. Satoshi sneaks into Silph Co and sneaks past some guards with the use of a Ditto. Satoshi finds Sabrina and the caged Lapras, and the two of them aim to stop Giovanni. Giovanni threatens to kill the Silph Co boss, but Sabrina teleports her, Satoshi, and Lapras into the room. Lapras uses Mist to stop Nidoqueen, and Nidoqueen accidentally poisons Giovanni with Poison Sting, and he leaves. The Silph Co boss gives Satoshi a Master Ball, and Sabrina gives him the Marsh Badge. So, wow. Wowie wow, that was way more to go over than I expected. I knew Saffron City would be an epic one to go over, but wow. Maybe I could have even separated this into a Saffron City one and a Silph Co one, but no, it should all be combined into one. This is a pretty crazy place with a lot of different takes on it, and it's hard to say which version of the story here is the best. You have the original take from the games with Team Rocket blocking the city out and then controlling Silph Co, and then a standard Sabrina gym fight. You have the anime with Sabrina being an all-powerful psychic user who can turn people into dolls, and then there's two separate dojo stories, the Pokemon contest and the crazy manga arc with the hybrid legendary birds and threats of murder by gym leaders. Just all over the place. But that makes it a fun place to discover. Sabrina is a very memorable gym leader with multiple takes on her character depending on the type of media. The psychic type is actually pretty scary if you think about it. And I said at the beginning that Silph Co is one of my least favorite places to go through in the original games, and I do stand by that. But with the different stories surrounding it, it's a pretty intense place. And all of this started with you originally being denied entry into the city as a whole because a few guards were thirsty. Wild stuff. So thanks for going with me on this epic tour video. I really don't see any other video in the Kanto series being as long as this one, but there are still a few more to go. I recently posted a poll on my channel on whether or not I should cover absolutely every place in Kanto or just do a couple more and complete it there, and the results were pretty even. So I'll say that what I decide to do will pretty much be what sounds good to me at the time. You might see me make a Pewter City or Cerulean City video, you might not. If I feel like I'll have enough to say, I'll do them. Otherwise, get ready for Victory Road and Cerulean Cave. Only time will tell. As always, a big rolling ball sized thank you goes out to all of my super cool Patreons at the end here. Check out patreon.com/Paraspectre if you want to be a part of the Mushroom Army, and I'll see you all for the next one. Paraspectre will return.